Aha! AMD's next generation GPU, the long-awaited Radeon R3 is finally here, and we are all very excited to see what kind of performance can we expect from the world's first chiplet-based GPU. I know what everyone is thinking about. How does the new Radeon RX 7900 XTX compete against the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4080? Well, the reason why we choose the RTX 4080 and not the RTX 4090 is because we want to test AMD's claim that they made on stage during the launch of both the 7900 XT and 7900 XTX. Looking at just the retail price and early performance comparison numbers provided by AMD, the 7900 XTX already looks like a better option. But is it an RTX 4080 killer as what AMD claimed? Let's find out. We begin with a quick overview of the card itself. The reference card has a rather cool looking design and has a triple fan cooler yet compact in size, as it is a tad smaller than RTX 4080 FE, yet looks better than the previous gen RX 6000 series reference card. Since it is so compact, you can fit it into most of the compact ITX cases too. For the power supply requirement, 800 watt is the bare minimum according to AMD. Good news is, AMD is not going for the new 12V HPWR or high power, like what NVIDIA did with their new RTX 40 series cards. So you don't have to deal with any of the Octopus adapter and still live comfortably with your existing power supply if you have enough wattage. As for the display output, the new Radeon 7000 series cards now features not only HDMI 2.1a but also a dedicated DisplayPort 2.1 and USB-C with DisplayPort 2.1 out mode. This technically allows you to go all the way up to 480Hz on 4K resolution and 165Hz on 8K resolution. I cannot afford any monitors that come with these specifications, nor able to find any yet. So I guess that's something for you to explore in the future. Okay, benchmark numbers time. So like what I've mentioned earlier, we have tested the 7900 XTX against the RTX 4080 just to see if it's truly a 4080 killer. And starting off with the raster performance, I won't say it's totally one-sided. For both 1440p and 4K resolution tests, the 7900 XTX trade blow with the RTX 4080. While the RTX 4080 can still perform better on some titles, it's still clear that the 7900 XTX is still a better GPU in this category, especially in 4K resolution. For those who are still using 1080p monitors, here's the benchmark. I'm not sure why someone would actually spend almost $1,000 just to get the 7900 XTX to play games at 1080p. But hey, if you're happy with it, then go for it. Moving on from raster performance to ray tracing. This is something that AMD struggles at when they first introduced this on their Radeon RX 6000 series GPU due to the lack of dedicated hardware to get the job done. This, however, is somewhat better on the Radeon RX 7000 series, as it now comes with dedicated AI accelerators and ray accelerators. So we are expecting some decent performance from this RX 7900 XTX. But then this happened. Looking across all games on all resolutions, the RX 7900 XTX is performing not as good as the RTX 4080 with ray tracing turned on and FSR enabled. Depending on what game title we are referring to, there are games where it excels, but the RTX 4080 will either perform slightly better than the AMD card or manage to drastically outperform it. While the performance did seem pretty decent with FSR enabled as compared to the previous gen Radeon cards, there are still some drawbacks here. Number 1. FSR 2 is definitely a lot better than FSR 1. Though not all the games actually comes with FSR 2, 2.1 or the latest 2.2, and some are still actually stuck with FSR 1, which is not okay if you're playing on lower resolution like 1080p. Even with 4K, some games still looks kind of grainish with FSR 1 quality preset enabled. You're actually sacrificing the image quality just for the sake of getting higher FPS. Now, FSR is definitely far from perfect, even to this day, and I would say the same goes to DLSS. However, I'll still recommend DLSS more if you're on an NVIDIA GeForce card. But even without these features, the RTX 4080 is still clearly better when it comes to ray tracing performance. While it's only available on Forza Horizon 5 for now, I do have high hopes on FSR 2.2 because it actually looks decent. So that's something for us to actually look forward to in the future. And number 2, unlike DLSS, there are still games that doesn't support FSR at all, which is totally not in favor of the 7900 XTX. Games like Control, Watch Dogs Legion, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and more are some of the titles we've tested that doesn't come with any support for FSR. So your only options for these games is to play it without ray tracing if the performance is really bad. Now for the synthetic benchmarks, we are doing it just out of curiosity really. In 3D Mark, we can actually see the same behavior with both GPU, where the 7900 XTX performs better in raster performance, in example, TimeSpy and TimeSpy Extreme. For tests that involves ray tracing like Port Royal, Speedway, we can still see the RTX 4080 perform better. As for content creation related work like photo editing, video editing, both the 7900 XTX and RTX 4080 is doing pretty well. Despite similar performance results, I'll still say the RTX 4080 is just slightly better for this job. As far as the power draw goes, the RX 7900 XTX is drawing at least 350 watts and can go even higher depending on your usage. So it's understandable why AMD will recommend at least an 800 watt power supply for the RX 7900 XTX. Temperature wise, although the GPU only peaked at 77 Celsius, other sensors across the board goes to an average of 80 degrees Celsius, and the memory junction temps that goes up to 94 degrees Celsius during load. While AMD will probably tell you that, yeah, it's still within the safe operating temperature, I'll say some users will still freak out a little when they see this kind of temperatures. So let's just hope that the partners will come up with better cooling solution when their custom design is available in the market later. Okay, so is the RX 7900 XTX and RTX 4080 killer? Not quite, although it did perform better than the RTX 4080 on raster performance, but when it comes to ray tracing, the RTX 4080 is still better for this job. So I'll say they are technically on par in a way, But then again, if ray tracing is not your thing, it's probably your RTX 4080 killer in a way. What I will say is the RX 7900 XTX is a true 4K gaming capable card, and even though the ray tracing performance is still not as good as the RTX 4080, I'll say AMD is really catching up at this point, and this is what Nvidia should be concerned with. Apart from the higher temperatures, AMD really need to work on the FSR adoption rate in general to actually make this more significant and not constantly overshadowed by DLSS. And that goes to FSR 2 or above. FSR 2.2 is looking pretty good, but as of now, I'm only seeing it on Forza Horizon 5. The Hyper RX is something I'm actually looking forward to, as it's technically AMD's response to Nvidia's DLSS 3. But we won't be seeing that until 2023 H1. Okay, so now that we have seen what the Radeon RX 7900 XTX is capable of, I'll say the official starting price of US $999 or technically $1,000 US make it look a lot more attractive than the RTX 4080, as it's offering a better price to performance ratio despite not being as powerful as the RTX 4080 when it comes to the ray tracing performance. And there you have it, our take on the AMD Radeon RX 7900 XTX. Between RTX 4080 and RX 7900 XTX, which one do you think is the better GPU, and which would you buy and why? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys again in the next one.